Relief Commander Vale Sorn had been assigned to recover bodies, and she expected, descending toward the Kithra outpost's outer perimeter 9 days after the garrison's last confirmed transmission, that the recovery would be brief and the report would be unremarkable. The garrison had been ordered to hold the outpost for 1 hour. 1 hour, against an advancing Dranic doctrine that calculated holding times with the same rigorous precision the Dranic military applied to everything, a calculation that had determined, based on garrison size, terrain, and enemy strength, that Kithra outpost could reasonably be expected to delay an assault for 60 minutes before falling, buying the evacuation convoy the margin it needed to clear the system. The convoy had cleared the system in 43 minutes. The garrison's last confirmed transmission had come at the 58-minute mark, 2 minutes before the projected fall, a routine status update that ended mid-sentence and was never followed by a confirmation of withdrawal, surrender, or destruction. Command had waited 4 days for the area to become safe enough to send a recovery team. It had taken Vale's relief convoy another 5 to arrive, the slow grinding logistics of war in a sector where every available ship was committed elsewhere. And by the time her shuttle set down on Kithra's scorched landing apron, she had long since stopped expecting to find anything but confirmation of what every officer in the sector already assumed. The garrison was gone. The hour had ended 9 days ago. There was nothing left to hold. Perimeter beacons still transmitting, her sensor officer, Dresh Callan, said, the particular flatness in his voice that meant he had checked the reading twice before reporting it. Vale looked at her own display. The beacon was broadcasting on schedule, on the original frequency, the standard identify friend or foe signal every garrison maintained for as long as it remained operational and crewed. That's not possible, she said. 9 days with no resupply, no relief, against the force that hit this position. The beacon should have gone dark within the first hour, the same hour everyone else did. It's not possible, Dresh agreed. It's also still transmitting. The outer checkpoint, when Vale's recovery team reached it on foot, showed exactly the damage she expected from an assault that had, by every available intelligence, overwhelmed a 1-hour defensive position decisively. Scorched walls, collapsed support struts, the specific wreckage pattern of a position that had taken sustained heavy fire and held its structural integrity only by the barest margin. What she did not expect was the checkpoint's interior, which was not abandoned in the chaotic, hurried way overrun positions usually were. The supply racks were organized. The emergency medical station, though clearly used extensively, had been restocked and arranged with the particular discipline of personnel who had continued performing inventory and triage procedures long after any reasonable expectation of relief had passed. She found the logbook in the medical station's secure compartment, a standard field record any garrison medic was required to maintain, and she opened it expecting a casualty log, the grim accounting any siege eventually produced. The first entry was not a casualty report. Day 1, Hour 2. Supply assessment complete. Medical stores, sufficient for projected 14-day holding period at current casualty rate, assuming rationing protocol initiated immediately. Initiating rationing protocol now. Vale read the entry twice. Dresh, she said, get the full team in here. I want this logbook documented and translated in full before we move to the next position. The medic's name, according to the logbook's header, was Specialist Adiz Corin, and her entries, Vale discovered as the recovery team worked through the full record over the following hours, did not read like the writing of someone who believed she was holding a position for 60 minutes. Day 1, Hour 4. Garrison Commander Reyes has confirmed the convoy cleared system at minute 43. Original order's purpose is fulfilled. New question, do we hold, withdraw, or attempt evacuation ourselves? Commander's assessment, withdrawal under current fire would cost more casualties than holding the checkpoint structure which is intact and defensible. Decision, Hold. This is not in defiance of orders. The order's objective was achieved. Everything after this point is a separate decision, made fresh, based on what actually serves the people still alive in this position. Vale paused at that entry longer than the others. They didn't keep holding because the order said an hour and they decided to ignore it, she said, half to herself, half to Dresch, who was documenting the recovery alongside her. The order's objective was the convoy's escape. Once that happened, every minute after was a new decision, not an extension of the old one. That's a meaningful distinction, Dresch said. Our doctrine treats a holding order as binding for its stated duration, full stop. Going past it without new orders is a court-martial offense in Dranic command structure, regardless of outcome. I know, Vale said, keep reading. The entries across the following days documented, with the same calm, procedural clarity, a defense that had nothing to do with heroics and everything to do with relentless, unglamorous logistics. Water reclamation systems jury-rigged from the checkpoint's environmental controls. A rotating watch schedule adjusted twice daily to account for accumulated fatigue across the surviving garrison. A field surgery performed on day 3, documented in the same flat clinical language as every other entry. The patient's name, the procedure, the outcome, no embellishment, no drama, simply the record of work that needed doing. Day 3, hour 19. Performed field amputation on Corporal Hale, left leg below the knee. Infection had progressed beyond what current antibiotic stores could manage conservatively. Procedure successful. Patient stable. Garrison morale assessment. Steady. Commander Reyes has assigned Hale to the secondary watch rotation once recovery permits, citing the position's continued need for every available set of eyes regardless of physical capacity. Hale has accepted the assignment. They kept assigning duties to wounded personnel, Vale said, not out of cruelty, because every person mattered to the holding, and the holding wasn't optional once they'd decided to do it. Read the Day 5 entry, Dresch said, already several pages ahead of her. I want to know if I'm understanding this correctly. Vale found it. Day 5, hour 2. Enemy force has not renewed full assault in 31 hours, appears to be reassessing approach following losses sustained in the Day 3 engagement. Commander Reyes' assessment. They expected this position to fall within the hour originally calculated. It did not. Their doctrine likely did not account for a contingency where the defenders simply continued holding past the calculated collapse point. We are, in effect, an anomaly their planning did not anticipate, and anomalies require reassessment before further commitment. This buys us time. We will use it. Vale set the logbook down for a moment. They knew, she said quietly. They understood on Day 5 that they had become a doctrinal problem for the force attacking them, not a target anymore, a contradiction the enemy's own planning hadn't accounted for. How does a garrison commander reach that conclusion in the middle of a siege, with no outside intelligence feed? I don't think it required intelligence, Vale said. I think it required understanding that an enemy whose doctrine calculates everything precisely is going to hesitate the moment the calculation stops matching reality. They didn't need to know what the enemy was thinking. They just needed to know the enemy was the kind of force that thought that way at all. The logbook's final entries, spanning days 7 through 9, documented a garrison that had, by Vale's own professional assessment, every reasonable justification to consider its position untenable. Casualties had mounted. Supplies, even under rationing, had reached genuinely critical thresholds. The enemy force, having reassessed and regrouped, had resumed assault on Day 7 with renewed intensity. And still, the entries did not change in tone. Day 7, hour 11. Renewed assault has cost us 2 additional casualties, both survivable with current medical resources. Commander Reyes addressed remaining garrison directly this hour. I am recording her statement in full because I believe it should be part of this record. Vale read Commander Reyes's recorded statement slowly, aware, by this point in the logbook, that every word a Keithra Garrison member had committed to this record had been written with the deliberate intention that someone, eventually, would read it. We were given 1 hour. We gave them 9 days instead, and we're going to keep giving them more for as long as holding this position serves the people behind us better than abandoning it would. I'm not asking anyone here to believe we will all survive this. I'm asking everyone here to understand that the math we are running is not about survival. It is about whether holding this checkpoint for 1 more hour, for 1 more day, continues to be the right decision given everything we currently know. The moment it stops being the right decision, we stop holding it, and that will not be a failure. It will be the same kind of decision that got us this far in the first place. We do not hold because we are told to. We held the order's purpose for 43 minutes. Everything since has been our own choice, made fresh, every single day, and I intend for us to keep choosing it for as long as the choosing makes sense. V. Ale closed the logbook for a long moment after reading that entry, and Dresch, beside her, did not break the silence. 9 days, she said finally. Not because anyone forced them to. Because every single morning, someone in that garrison looked at the situation fresh and decided holding still made sense, and kept deciding it, day after day, until something finally changed the answer. The final entry in the logbook, dated the morning of day 9, was shorter than the others, written in a hand that Vale's medical analysis of the ink pressure suggested belonged to someone working under considerable physical strain. Day 9, Hour 3. Enemy force has withdrawn from visual range entirely over the past 6 hours. No renewed contact. Sensors show no approaching reinforcement on their side either. Commander Reyes's assessment. This may be a full disengagement, possibly due to broader strategic developments outside our visibility, possibly a final reassessment before a larger commitment. We do not have enough information to know which. We are maintaining full defensive posture regardless. If this is the end of the engagement, I want this record to state clearly. We did not hold this position because we believed we could not be defeated. We held it because every day we held it, it remained the correct decision, and we trusted that math more than we trusted any fear of what continuing might eventually cost us. Whoever finds this record, please ensure Commander Reyes's family receives confirmation that her decisions, every one of them, were sound, deliberate, and entirely her own. She did not gamble with our lives. She recalculated them carefully every single day, and she was right far longer than anyone reasonably should have been. There was no entry after that one. Vale's recovery team found the garrison survivors 4 hours later, not in the checkpoint itself, but in a secondary shelter half a kilometer beyond it, where Commander Reyes had relocated the remaining personnel during the final disengagement window. A tactical decision the logbook had not yet documented, because the medic who kept it had clearly run out of time to record it before the relief convoy arrived. 11 survivors, out of an original garrison of 43. Commander Sarah Reyes, when Vale found her, was sitting against the shelter's interior wall, conscious, exhausted, overseeing the same kind of calm, methodical organization the logbook had documented for 9 consecutive days, distributing the last of the medical supplies with the specific care of someone who had never once, across 9 days, stopped treating the work in front of her as the only thing that currently mattered. Commander Reyes. Vale identified herself and watched the human officer's expression shift toward something that was not quite surprise but was close to it. Relief Commander Vale Sorn, we received your beacon. It's been transmitting the whole time, Reyes said. I made sure of that on day 1. Figured someone would come eventually, and I wanted them to find us exactly where we said we'd be. Your orders specified a 1-hour hold. They did. Reyes did not look away from the medical supplies she was organizing, the same unhurried attention she had clearly given every task across the past 9 days. The convoy cleared at minute 43, After that, the order didn't have anything left to tell us, so we figured out the rest ourselves. Vale's formal report, filed 3 weeks later after the survivors had been fully processed through medical recovery, and the logbook had been transcribed in its entirety for the Dranic Military Archive, departed in its closing section from the standard format her command expected. She wrote, "This garrison was ordered to hold for 1 hour and held for 9 days, and I want to be precise about what that distinction actually means, because I believe our own doctrine has consistently misunderstood it. This was not defiance of an order. The order's purpose was achieved in 43 minutes. Every decision after that point was a new decision, made fresh, by a commander who understood the difference between following an instruction and continuing to do the right thing once the instruction had nothing further to offer." She paused before writing the final paragraph, the one she suspected would generate the most internal debate once the report reached the wider command structure. "I recommend our doctrine examine its own assumption that a holding order's value ends precisely when its calculated duration ends. This garrison proved that assumption is, at minimum, incomplete. They did not succeed because they ignored their orders. They succeeded because their commander understood that an order is a floor, not a ceiling, and that the decision to keep doing the right thing does not require anyone's permission to keep being made, one day at a time, for as long as it remains the right decision to make. If this one stayed with you, it's in the 43 minutes, not the 9 days, though the 9 days are what the title promises and what most listeners will remember first. The 43 minutes is when the order's actual purpose was fulfilled, the convoy safely gone, every obligation technically discharged. Everything Sarah Reyes's garrison did after that minute was not obedience. It was a choice, recalculated fresh every single morning for 9 straight days, by people who understood that doing the right thing does not come with a built-in expiration date just because the paperwork that started it did. Stay human.